For our next project, we're going to be making our way back to the aft underside of the hull, back where the rudder is. There's some bolts back there that were kind of corroded looking, and I think we want to try to remove at least one of them to be able to inspect it. We've been trying to remove this bolt for, just about ever since the time we purchased this boat. So we'll get a zoomed in shot here and I'll show you what we're talking about. So hang on a second. Almost there. So close. But very hard still. I have to make sure we're pulling in such a way that if it slips, our hand doesn't go into something really sharp, like the propeller. They installed it with, you guessed it, 5,200. These people love their 5,200 on this boat. Not me. I'm not a fan of it at all. Here we go. Oh my gosh. We have been struggling. Could it be true? Is this bolt really coming out right now? Man.
Wow!
Welcome back to another exciting and thrill-filled adventure with DIY Nautical Dream.
Welcome back, guys.
Hi guys, welcome back. It's us again.
Always. Let's go straight to our update this week.
That's what we're here for.
You're gonna help me out this one.
Okay. So
this week's update, we're gonna do drivetrain maintenance.
Yep.
Installing new zinc anodes.
Right. That's what we need to do.
Did I say right?
Yeah, you said it right.
Perfect. And then we're gonna do rudder bolt replacement.
Yep. We have to start focusing on some areas that are below the waterline and areas that we will no longer get to or have access to if we splash the boat in the near future. So. That's a big if, but I mean, it's going to happen either way sooner or later. It's something we need to start focusing on, some of the exterior work down below the waterline. So those are some big things that we need to get done. And I have tried to get this rudder bolt out before a long time ago and have not had any luck. So I have a new approach. I'm going to stay with it until it comes out. And so also we'll get those anodes replaced too. And so we'll check back with you guys after we're done and we'll give an update how far we made it.
All right. See you in a little bit.
We'll see you in a little bit. Wish us luck on that bolt. It's going to be a tough one. All right, so we're back at the famous cockpit control panel. You know, remember when I opened that and we ended up with a big large bird's nest of all the wires that went crazy everywhere, just like they are right there? Well, there's a method to our madness. Two stages, actually. We want to run that bilge pump cockpit control switch up through there, and then since we opened it, we realized what's going on, and there we saw the wires. We have this Dymo Rhino label maker, and so we're going to make some labels with that and put them on some of the wires as we go, so we know what we have and what we're dealing with later. So here you can see some of the wires we already identified with that label maker. It really makes it nice to be able to see what those are for later on down the road, especially if we're trying to sort things out and zip tying them together and maybe we need to move some switches around, or we redesign the whole panel itself and we want to know what we're working with. So that'll make it really helpful. Also, in last week's video, we talked about adding a terminal strip back there, and Graham said that was probably not a good idea, and so we're thinking that idea through a little bit more and maybe gonna hold off on that for a while. But also, thanks for the tip, Graham. You said that was a relay back. You were right, that is a relay for the aft deck lights that was hidden back there, and I was trying to figure out what was going on back there. But yeah, so anyways, it's always nice to hear from the comments, and we learned something along the way, and it's a great way to network and share information. So we're going to tidy up these wires, and we'll just close it back up and hold off on adding the terminal strip for now. From the looks of it, we're going to be busy with that label maker. We're going to have to switch out a cartridge and make a new label with it says steaming light, I think is what that used to say. The UV has bleached it all out. It's hard to read it anymore, and we're going to have to replace that before we forget what it's supposed to say. But yeah, so we're going to use that label maker all over on the boat. If you don't have one and you're going to get a project going like this, that's going to be a necessary tool just for help ID all kinds of things throughout the boat. For our next project, we're going to be making our way back to the aft underside of the hull, back where the rudder is. There's some bolts back there that were kind of corroded looking, and I think we want to try to remove at least one of them to be able to inspect it. We've been trying to remove this bolt for, just about ever since the time we purchased this boat. So we'll get a zoomed in shot here and I'll show you what we're talking about. So hang on a second. So if you notice here, right down at the forward section of the rudder base, the skeg area, you'll see some streaking and stains, and it looks like rust. Well, that drew our attention to it right away. Even when we did our first inspection walk around on the boat, we noticed that and we thought it was a problem. So once we made the purchase, we want to investigate a little bit further and see what's going on in there. So one of the first problems we encountered was these are a slotted type bolt head. It would have been better if it was Phillips tip, but either way, it's a large slotted tip, and it just doesn't do any good to try and put any major torque on that. The bit continues to slip out. We had to buy a special tip, this big slotted tip to put on there, and that bit alone was like $30. So we tried everything we had up until this, and nothing would even budge it. The only way we could make this work was by taking our Dremel tool and cutting the slot in the tip of the bolt deeper so that bit will stay in there a little bit longer without slipping out. This was desperate times called for desperate measures. So we worked on backing this bolt out a little bit each day. It seemed like it took us months, but we finally got enough backed out to where we could get the vice grips on it. Now we should be able to make some progress. So we've really been struggling on this, trying to get this rudder shoe mount bolt out. It's been a real pain. I've had to cut this groove deeper and deeper to get the bit to hold in there, and I'm telling you, man, it's been a real pain. So this is what actually fits in there, and what happens is it just keeps slipping out. Once I get under a really heavy load on it, it just slips out. But we're finally getting there, almost. Today's the day we're gonna have that out, and then we can go get a new one, put it in. So with the vice grips, we're gonna mutilate this bolt. It will not be usable ever again. But trying to find a replacement bolt's not easy as well. We have managed to find them. We had to order them online. Went all over town looking for them, could not find them. But our next step is to use these vice grips in a careful manner, because if they slip off, we have to be careful and see where our hands are going to end up. We'll see how we go. Almost there. So close. But very hard still. I had to make sure we're pulling in such a way that if it slips, our hand doesn't go into something really sharp, like the propeller. They installed it with, you guessed it, 5200. These people love their 5200 on this boat. Man. Not me. I'm not a fan of it at all. Here we go. Oh my gosh. We have been struggling. Struggling with this for so long. Oh man. The whole thing was I saw some streaking right here, and it appeared like it was coming from the front edge of the bolt. So I'm like, well, we don't want these bolts going bad. So I went ahead and started to remove it. And in all actuality, if you look, there was a little bit of rust under the head there. So here's a backside view of the head of the bolt where the countersink area is. Yeah, there's a little bit of rust there, but it's not bad. But it wasn't so bad that it was worth replacing. So that's where we're at. Now all we have to do is get a new bolt. Just gotta get a new bolt and replace it. We'll put it in there with some sealant, but not 5200. So as you can see here, we had to cut the slot pretty deep in the head of this bolt to be able to get that tool to be able to sit in there nice and tight so we could get some leverage on it. And yeah, so we're not going to be able to save that bolt, but looking back on it, we didn't change the rest of them out because that bolt's not going anywhere anytime soon. Yeah, it did have a little bit of rust around the base of the countersink, but nothing worth worrying about. So if you take a closer look here, you'll see all that blackened area up there around the hole where the countersink head part of the bolt was sitting in there. All that blackened area around there looks like it was burnt. Well, it's because it was. We tried to heat it up with a torch for quite a while to get that thing to loosen up. We thought maybe it would cook off the seal or something inside the hole. Never worked. Well, now that we finally got that stubborn bolt out, we're pretty happy about that. I can't say that job was fun, but it was something, a learning experience anyways. And we know those streaks aren't as severe as we thought they were when we first looked at them. Yeah, there's a little rust going on back there, but it's nothing major, nothing structural. It's not going to change the integrity of the fasteners at this time. Something we'll come back to at a later date, maybe another haul out, something like that. We're going to shift our attention now to the propeller shaft strut, and we're going to clean that area up. And you can kind of see the remnants where there was once a zinc on there and there no longer is. So we're going to clean that area up for a good bond, and then we'll prepare to install the new zinc anode on there. So if you look closely, you can see where the outline is of the old anode, zinc anode that was there. We're just going to lightly scuff that to clean it up and get a good bonding surface on there. You can tell there was electrolysis in this area at some time before. That's what we're hoping to prevent by adding new zinc anodes on there. So what we're going to use to lightly clean that up and get a better bonding surface, so we're just going to use a wire brush in our drill motor, and we're going to just turn it on a high RPM. We're not using a lot of pressure. We're not pushing down super hard on it with the wire wheel. We don't want to gouge into there or gall the surface. We're just trying to clear away some of that oxidation and get a good bonding surface going on there. You see it's kind of a little bit shiny now, but it's not like we're not removing any metal or anything. There you go. So see how it looks good? And it really doesn't take that long. Now we'll shift over to this side here. We're going to do the same thing. All we want to do is just try to clear the area around where the disc is going to be sitting down onto the metal surface there. Like once again, we're just trying to create a really good clean bond. We're not digging into the metal. We're not pushing super hard with the wire wheel. We don't want to slow the motor down much. That's it. Otherwise, we'll start galling it and removing metal, and we don't want to do that. So here's our new zinc anode that we're going to put on there and install. We really don't have a lot of prep work to do on these. We just want to disconnect them, unscrew them, separate the two halves. It's like a clamshell or two discs put together, and then make sure the inside surfaces are clean, but we don't need to scuff them or anything like that. Just make sure they're clean, and then mate them onto each halves of that skeg and start tightening the fastener down. So to install these new zinc anodes on here, they're pretty simple to put on. They have an Allen set screw that goes in there, holds the two halves together on the propeller shaft support strut, and then we just tighten them down really tight. By tightening them down tight, it helps flatten them out a little bit, gives it a better bonding surface, helps prevent any electrolysis from forming underneath between the two pieces. Well, we finally got the zinc anode on the skeg. That's been in the works for a long time. And yeah, I had a new one to put on here, but the bolt was too short, so we just went and bought a new one and put a longer bolt on it. Took care of that. Now we have a spare. Up next, we're going to install the ring zinc anode, and this one's going to go on the propeller shaft just forward of the propeller, between the propeller and the propeller shaft strut. And this one's a pretty heavy duty one. There's a lot of mass to this one, and it's 2 halves as well. And so we just do the same thing. We're going to clean that area on the propeller shaft, and then we're going to install this there so we have a good bond. Make sure the fasteners are nice and tight. Okay, so now you can see we have the ring style zinc anode installed on the propeller shaft, and it's just forward of the main structure of the propeller itself, and then just aft of the propeller shaft support strut. And in between the strut and the ring zinc, we should have a line cutter on there, but we don't have one. We don't know how one would mount with the type of strut we have, but it's something we'd like to look into in the future. It'd be a nice piece of comfort to have a line cutter on there. Okay, so up next it's time to install this ball type zinc anode, and this one's got some density to it, so it's pretty heavy. This one goes on the propeller shaft just forward of the shaft support strut, and this one's going to help prevent any electrolysis corrosion happening on the propeller shaft. And so we'll get that one installed next, and we're going to want to put this one on fairly tight also. We don't want it coming loose. Okay, so here in this picture you can see where its position is at in the running gear, the underwater running gear, and it's just forward of the propeller shaft support strut like we said earlier. And so yeah, we've got that one on nice and tight, and hopefully it'll do its job. Okay, so up next, the final zinc that we're going to need to install in this job is the one on the aft end of the propeller. It's actually a cone-shaped zinc, and it goes on where these 3 fasteners are at the very edge, aft end of the propeller. And so we got to find that one, make sure we get the right one, because that's specific to this propeller. And it's interesting because there were no zinc anodes on the running gear of this boat at all when we bought it. So I don't know if they were in the process of doing the maintenance on it at some point when they first hauled it out or what, but yeah, there's none on there and no old ones in place or anything like that. So hopefully they were on there at some point and it wasn't running without them. So here's the propeller cone zinc, and the funny thing about this is I actually ended up buying the wrong size one the first time around and got to the boat and realized that it didn't fit, so we had to take it back and get the next size larger. And this one has also got quite a bit of weight to it. It's definitely got some density. And so yeah, anyways, we went ahead and got the right one, and we're going to go ahead and install it now. And I took the pictures up close because for future reference, I will know exactly which one we need next time. Okay, and here you can see where this cone-shaped zinc anode is installed. It goes on the aft face of the propeller where it mounts on the propeller shaft. And so yeah, I think there's 3 fasteners that hold it in, and we put them in nice and tight. And this is also our final zinc that we're installing on the underwater running gear. And so all in all, we put in a total of 4 of them that we've installed. So we have 4 new zincs on the underwater running gear. So that should last us a while. And that will also give us a good indication once we do splash and we have the boat running under motor power that if we have good electrolysis protection or not. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. All right, welcome back. We are here to give our update. We're able to get all the zinc anodes on the drive shaft replaced, and on the end of the propeller we have a new one on there that was missing when we bought the boat. So all the anodes on the drive shaft and propeller have been replaced, and on the propeller shaft skeg also we put a anode on there as well. So I think all in all we put four new zinc anodes on the drivetrain, so that's good. And we actually had luck and we were able to get that bolt out on the rudder mount, and it had streaking on it when we bought the boat. When we first looked at the boat, I thought for sure there was corrosion going on in there, but now after we got the bolt out, we probably could have left it in there and it would have been just fine. So live and learn, but you know, at least we feel better knowing the new bolt's in there, and we're not going to worry about the rest of them. So what a pain that was 5200 again.
Oh yeah.
Holding it in there. So we got it out.
Yeah. That's your friend.
Yeah. So that's where we're at for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We just wanted to show some progress below the waterline.
All right. So thanks for watching, guys.
Yep.
If you
thank
are
you.
not subscribed yet, please subscribe down
below. Right down there. All right. We appreciate it. And thank you for watching. And thank you to all of our new subscribers. And thank you to all of our longtime subscribers. And we really appreciate all your comments. Those mean a lot to us. We like to interact with you guys. And we just thank you for all the tips and things that you guys help us with along the way.
All right. Stay tuned. See you next week.
All right. We'll see you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Man, if I only hit record.